is TWiP. This critique topic, Troy Miller, was what? This was digital art. Yeah, so I'm excited to see what you guys have come up with for digital art. It should be exciting. And I'm actually interested to see what the interpretations of digital art was, because everything's digital, right? So people could have, if you were snarky, you could have just submitted a photo that you slightly adjusted the saturation on. Now it's digital art.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. But the community rose to the occasion. They're all amazing. Yeah, there's a lot of really fun ones in here.
Yep. Cool. Look at that. All right, here we are. So we are in the Founders Club. And inside the photo critique topic, the first one up is from our friend Stephen Scharf. He says, "Che bella macchina? Okay. Che bella macchina. Italian. What a beautiful car." Okay, got it. Thank you for the phonetics there, Stephen Scharf. Here we go. Look at that.
Yeah, that's so cool. What's amazing about this is that immediately we recognize, I think, the colors in the car, right? Even in the logo, even if you can't read the word Ferrari, any of us who have admired the vehicle right away can tell what that is. So it's great. It does a great job. I think this should be sent into Ferrari for some ad campaign. This is wicked cool. I love it.
This is cool. When I look at this picture, you know what music I have in my head? Because I'm a child of the 80s.
No.
Aha, Take On Me.
Oh, yeah.
That video.
Take On Me. Yeah.
Yep. Very cool. I like this too. I like this look a lot. It's very, this is some of that early, like, Photoshop excitement that we had back in the day. And we're like, holy crap, I can make art out of anything. Let me just, yeah. And of course, with skill applied and a good photo underneath, you get something like this. So this is really cool, Stephen.
Yeah, I do wish, though, that in the shot that the truck had been masked out and pulled down just a little bit, and that on the front left corner of the car, that we had some outline, for that front edge, so it didn't just blend into the truck. I think that would have added. There's this nice black line around, everything to kind of set it off. I think that would look cool around the car itself. But that's an artistic interpretation, and I think this does a really good job, and I like it. Very, very, very cool.
Yeah, very cool. Good job, Stephen Scharf. Of course. All right, and next up is Raphael Timbergeek Swift, a witch ball interior macro.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Come on, Mighty, you can do it. You can do it, Mighty.
I think it's Zoom. I think Zoom slows down all that stuff.
Maybe. Yeah, my processor is only at 20%. So, yeah. All right, what do you think of this? This feels like, what this feels like? Like Fantastic Voyage type, you've been shrunken down and you're inside of an alien aorta or something.
Yeah, I sort of, when I first looked at this, I imagined that this was like coming into the atmosphere of an alien planet, and you see these like structures that are so big. But this is one of those really abstract type images, whether it's digital or just pure photographic, that we don't know what it is. And the colors and the color harmony and the shapes are rather appealing. My feeling is to crop off the right half of the image where that dark spot is, and just use the left half and just go with that.
Like right here, crop this right here.
Yeah. I think that's where the story is, right? Everything to the left.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and it's so hard to critique abstracts, right? Because it's like it's completely subjective. Photography in and of itself is subjective, but abstracts are just what were you thinking? And it's right.
It's really it's not about critiquing it and saying it's right or wrong as many images. It's more of like, here's what I see, here's how I perceive this image, and here's how it reads to me. Whether you flip this image vertically or a completely upside down, that black quadrant over on what we have the top right corner is always going to draw your eye there, because you're always going to be looking for some information. And there's
What's in there? What's in there?
Yeah.
What's in that cave? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, this is cool. Very cool. I like it. I get lost in these kind of images. All right, Raphael. Thank you, sir. All right. What's in the box? All right. Up next is Nora Zenotnas. She says, dreaming of spring. It's always spring in Northern California.
Yeah. It's always something.
Yeah, I know, right? All right. What do you think of this one? This is a close up, looks like macro, relatively macro of water sprayed on spider webs with a face composited in. What do you think?
The face of Bo.
Face of Boca.
That's a Doctor Who reference. You didn't get the joke.
Face of because Bo. I like real science fiction. That's why.
Okay.
It's like Doctor Who.
I love the macro element of this and the mysteriousness of this, and I wish that the face wasn't so obviously placed and sharp amongst elements that are sharp and unsharp. I really feel like create some depth and mystery with that particular element, or make it more dominant. It seems oddly high and near the edge of the frame, and I want it to be more part of the image, or more dominant in the image, or more background out of focus. Secret, maybe in only one of the water drops. Something like that.
Yeah, to make it more abstract. Yeah, I agree. I was thinking that too. Just kind of push it back into the background, because the foreground and background elements are competing a little bit. These two droplets here, which are, you kind of go to first, and then this mass down here in the lower left, and then there's a face in there. So I'd want to see the face incorporated more tightly into the composition. Like you said, maybe the face is in one of the bubbles or one of the droplets, or if you really want to get crazy, one eye is in one droplet, the other eye is in another droplet, the nose is in a droplet, something like that. So this is cool.
It's still a really neat concept, and I think the feeling of maybe being stuck behind the web and all these obstacles that we have to overcome in normal life or whatever. I think that's I still get that sense of feeling, but I feel because the face is pushed so high up in the frame, and it feels sort of misplaced, maybe. Maybe that's the intention of the maker, right? Maybe that's what she wanted to feel that way. So
and it also it goes to what the story is behind this photo, because a lot of we're looking, you guys remember, we're looking at these photos on face value, on top left to bottom right pixel quadrant, right? And we're not taking into effect that, this is a photo of this person and they loved water and this was their favorite, that kind of story behind it. So we're looking at it on the merits of just the photo itself, as if we just pulled it out of a book and we're talking about it with little to no context. So,
which is a lot how art is viewed, though. I mean, you go to a museum, you see a pedestal with a thing on it. If it doesn't, sometimes it just doesn't speak to you, And so here's a question. If nobody appreciates it as art, is it actually art?
Like if a tree falls in the forest kind of thing?
Well, so let's say I make a photo and I hang it on a wall and I have a showing and everybody comes in and looks at it and goes, that's ridiculous. I don't get it. Is it still art? Because the other half of my audience didn't get to appreciate it? Did I miss my work somehow?
I would say yes, it is still art, because like it's some of the people that I talk to on the podcast, they don't create art or create what they create for other people. They do it for themselves. So, it's not art. I don't think is subject to groupthink approval. It's subject to your own sensibilities and what's in your heart to create. And if you like it, hey, print it and hang it on the wall, right? It's art.
Well,
So,
okay, not to extend the conversation, but if you're creating for you, why are you showing it to other people if you don't care what they think?
yeah, I think
I
that's
think you.
a peg that. Put a pin in that, and we will discuss that with the
Okay.
group afterwards. So
Okay. Right.
that's
You're
a
right.
good
Sorry.
topic. So you folks that are in the chat right now, we got to talk about that. What is art? Is art if no one looks at it, or if the group that's looking at your work, if they don't think it's art, is it actually art? So
Yeah.
we shall see. All right, thank you, Nora, for that shot.
Thank you,
Very
Nora.
nice.
That's great. I love.
All right, next up, Joshua Summersfeld. He says, I will start photographing people when extraterrestrials make contact. Hey, who's to say they haven't already made contact? Just saying. Just saying.
I've had some extraterrestrial contact with some.
Yeah. Yeah. My dating life. Yeah.
I really love these images. And I think that I always look forward to seeing what Joshua creates and what he posts, because it's just recognizable enough. There's a human form, but yet we know it's not a normal human form, right? And we know that it's not a straight photograph. So we have to assume that it's digitally rendered, which means that a lot of choices were made in building this image. So I just really appreciate all of that. It's one of those kind of things, like the eyes and the hand placement and the odd backgrounds and things. Like, it really just draws you in, and you almost want it to be real, right? Like, I want to see this as a giant statue in a museum somewhere, so everybody walks up and be like, that's the one. That's the one who met me. That's the one who took me away. Or
right. Yeah.
Somebody would.
That's the one who probed me. Hey.
Yeah. How did you know? How did he know?
No, this is cool. You know what I would love? I don't know if Josh would be into this, but I would love little short paragraph stories about the characters he creates and what their personalities are. Because you could kind of get a feel for what their personalities are by looking at the photo or by the render, but the fictional story of this person's personality, are they shy, are they happy, are they angry, are they mad, are they troubled, just a little story about these critters. I want to see people, but these these aliens, I want to see that. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
But looking at this from a digital art standpoint, Troy, what do you think of this shot overall? Composition, color, background, all that stuff.
I think it's great. Because I'm, as a photographer, I'm trying to look at it like from lighting, like where's the light coming in? Is the lighting consistent on the subject? Do the shadows actually work? Are they, is that light in the proper place? Not the proper place, but is it in a good place to accent, facial features and stuff? And it definitely is. I mean, you've got that, so we'll call it a Rembrandt light. There's that light just underneath the right, I guess we can call it a cheekbone, under the right eye, which I think is wonderful. What I'm really drawn into is the intention of the eyes. Because I love how the eyes are really the brightest thing in the scene, and how it draws us in. And with digital art, we have to realize that every pixel is intentional for the most part. So, kudos for picking the color of the skin, the color of the dress, the color of the eyes, all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool. And Joshua, at some point, maybe during the member mixer, Joshua can tell us about what he thought about that hyper realistic person modeling software that I shared in the community. Because that is, did you see that post, Troy, that I put in there? Mm-mm. There's like, I have to dig through and find it again, but there's just this hyper realistic, almost past the uncanny valley of, creepiness for rendering people in animation. Right. So it's animated versions of real humans that just look creepily real. And when I look at that stuff, I look at it from a we're only in 2021 standpoint, and stuff looks very close to almost indistinguishable from real if you don't look at it too closely. Where are we going to be in 2030 or 2025 or something? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Joshua says CGI people always fall apart for me in the eyes. Yeah, it's the eyes, I think. And when they try to make them, the mouth movements always seem to lose it for me. Like they can't seem to get the little nuances of the mouth, because you can always tell when a CG character starts talking.
Yeah.
So cool. Thank you, Joshua Summersfeld. All right. And then next up is Craig Colvin, The Abyss. Repost here as I realized I had posted in a wrong critique group. Yeah, Craig. Yeah, don't worry about that, man. I'm sorting all that, so it should be less is more very soon. Yeah. Let's take a look at this. I love this shot, man. I love this shot. One of the reasons I love this shot is the simplicity of it. You instantly know what's going on here. It's got a mysterious, almost kind of foreboding look to it. Cause is she okay? Is she like, what happened to her above the water? Why is she that deep? And but then it's just you got a water layer up top. You got some sun rays. You got a gradient leading into the abyss, and you got this character with this flowing dress on her with her face slightly obscured. So it's got that mystery, and it's telling me a story. I can make up all kinds of stories about what's going on in this shot, right? From something happened on the boat. She was on a cruise ship and her disgruntled ex pushed her off the back, or something. or she's a mermaid and she, whatever, it's really cool. It makes you think. What do you think?
There's so many things about this are wonderful in that. To me, I sort of see this as like ascending. I sort of see this as somebody coming out of, a darker place and rising up towards the light. So I really appreciate that. And to me, that's kind of how I see this image. Of course, it all depends on where you are. Like in your current emotional state, you may see it the other way around. Or you just appreciate it for the freedom or, the ease she could just be floating, right? She doesn't have to be sinking or rising. She could just be floating.
Yeah.
So there's so many stories. What's really wonderful about an image like this is that it's really, really simple. There's not really much that would be distracting to sort of draw us away from the main subject. We know right away, what the artist is trying to tell us. Aside from the virtual horizon being slightly crooked, it's nearly perfect. Yeah, I love it.
You know what it's missing? It's missing one thing. A gigantic shark at the bottom with its mouth open. Just all you can see is kind of the faint outline of several rows of teeth coming up. That's what's missing. Very cool.
And I like the light rays. I do feel that they look a little artificial. Those are really hard to do, and I think having the light rays maybe extend past the subject would also be nice. And just soften them as if they might fall off a little bit more. But that's nitpickery, and that's just sort of, use this brush or use that brush. I don't really have an opinion on that. I really love this image. I think it's really solid.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, Craig, let us know in the chat. How did you do the sun rays? Is this a Luminar thing? Did you do it in Photoshop manually, or I'm curious how the sun rays came to be. Let us know.
In an image like this, you can change the tone and change the feel of the image, which I think is really wonderful. Just overall tone.
Oh, he said he did them in Photoshop manually. Look at that. Oh, nice. Flexing. Love it. Very cool shot. I love it. Love the muted colors. I love it's a nice shot. Very good. Very well done. I didn't know your pool was that deep though, Craig. That's amazing. All right. Next up is Armando. He says composition of 6 images overlapping. Each one was taking a third of a second. Okay, so each shot was a third of a second. Edited in Lightroom and Photoshop. All right, let's take a look. All right. He's giving you your border.
Okay, I'm gonna start with the border. To be fair,
Okay, how can you not?
Right. So this is one of those situations where the border is now part of the image because it stands out so much. So you really got to ask yourself, like, because it's red, it's not a neutral color like a black or a white that just sort of would disappear. If you were to print this, you're going to print the red. That's part of the image now. And it's bold and it's really strong. So what are you trying to say with the red? So I look at this image as if that red is going to be what I print, right? And then the black and white is like a window that I'm looking through, and then I see this weird effect on the other side. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. I don't know. It's, how I feel about borders. I'm not a big fan of borders, and I have trouble with the offset borders like this, like with the big chin on there. It reminds me of the early iMacs with the big chin on the bottom. So, and like when I look at that space, I just think like I obviously creative choice, digital compositing, all bets are off, of course, 100%. But when I look at this, I think, oh, look at all those glorious unused pixels down there that could have had image data in them or some text or something to support the image. When I see that just swath of red down there, I'm like, okay, obviously it's a creative choice, right? So he wanted the weighting like that. So it's not wrong inherently. But from a viewer standpoint, I'm looking at it and I feel unfinished, unless this is part of a greater installation where there's a bunch of photos like this and each one of them is bordered like this and maybe with the photo at a different position within the frame so that it then becomes part of an overall collection of art. And that art is in a room like, say, this room where there's red stuff in there to play off of the,
Right.
I don't know.
Right. So I agree with some of the comments in the chat. Like Coleman says that he likes matting photos like this. I do too. I think that when you mat them, you create a sort of a pedestal or a base for them to sit on. The challenge is the red, and that's kind of why I bring up the red as being really a strong part of this image. And as Stephen Scharf says, that it's Armando staying true to his vision because he really likes those bright, punchy colors. So with all of that said about the border and the support of that, I love the effect that's going on in this image because we get the sense that it's a road with a building and these feet going by. So what an amazing ad this would be, right? With the red border, with some text at the bottom, just the Nike swoosh down there at the bottom or something, if all those shoes were Nikes, right?
If they were red Nikes too, that'd be killer, right?
You know what I mean? But it's pretty cool. Just realize that when you use a red color like that our eyes can only handle looking at that for so long, and then unconsciously you will look away because you're overloading the color sensors in your eyes. Red and yellows and bright oranges and things like that. We can only.
Joshua has a good point in the chat. We're in sync because I was thinking the exact same thing. He says if you're in doubt that the border is distracting, consider that as long as you've been on this image, it's all y'all been talking about, right? So that's right. That's 100% right. And it goes to what I was saying earlier about you have all these glorious pixels and the border is taking you away from what's in the image. And I could see an argument for this treatment. Not to say that it's wrong, but I could see a stronger argument for this treatment if it tied into something within the image itself. Like if there was some hint of red somewhere in the image to make it make sense. Like even one of the shoes. I know how much you love selective color, Troy, but if one of the pairs of shoes was red, then it became, that's why the red border. Right now, it's just kind of like, why the red border? So I don't know.
Yeah,
I got to get over my border.
Joshua. I mean, it could just be an image of a coin laying on a table, and we'll talk about the border. It could be a blank frame.
I love it. That's what I love about this community, right? Everyone has different opinions on everything. It's perfect.
Right.
All right. Well, cool. Any other thoughts on this before I move on?
No, it's great.
Cool. Thank you, Armando. All right. Next shot up is from James Glennie. He says, Impressionist scoff. Impressionist paintings are among my favorite styles. He spelled favorite wrong. What's going on there? My favorite styles. So I thought for a while about what I'd like to do for a subject, and flipping through the images, this one called out to me. Cool. Look at him pandering to the cat lovers. Love it. I love it already. Love everything about it. Can't go wrong with a cat.
Yeah, I dig it. I dig it. It's a lot of fun. This is a really great image. I don't know that I'm a huge fan of the texture, that sort of sandy texture. But again, that's kind of like the border thing. It's kind of preference, right? It's how my brain, assimilates it. But this reminds me like those really, really old wall arts that my grandmother used to have that were like pieces of plastic that were melted together. I don't know if you ever saw
my
them.
mom used to do those. Yes.
Yeah.
I still have some of those that she made. Yes. Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah. It reminds me of that. So it's very classic. It's very timeless.
Or paint by numbers. Yeah.
Paint by numbers. Yeah. And I love how the eyes really pop out in this, being a different color. So it's a good color choice on the background. It's very complementary to the green of the cat's eyes, which I really like. So.
Yeah. This is cool. You can't take a bad picture of a cat. Just saying. Cats.
No.
All right.
Yeah, good treatment.
Thank you, James Glennie. All right. Up next is Amy Brooks. More Than a Monk. Look at that. This looks like a pastel, not watercolor. Yeah, like pastel on rough paper. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, I really love this image a lot. It feels like an unfinished painting of some kind, right? Like you did the sketch, and normally you would do the sketch and some of the shading, and then you would come back and maybe with the watercolor, like you said, you would add the colors to it. So I just love that. I love that sense that it's not quite complete, but there's enough there for me to really get into the story. As you might expect, I struggle with the negative space on the right. I don't think that we need to have that. It doesn't have to be perfectly centered, but it's so heavily weighted to the left side, camera left. I feel something's missing on the right. Maybe a cat, maybe just like some chill cat laying there,
or a Luminar hot air balloon or something, right? Some
or
birds.
a bird, or a pipe, or a can of Budweiser. I don't know. Like,
you know what I was thinking? Joshua Summersfeld is in my brain right now. I was thinking exactly what he said in the chat. He said it looks like it'd be a giant mural on a brick wall in LA. And I was thinking that wouldn't it be interesting to have like silhouettes or just composited people down at the bottom, like they're walking by, like on the right side, like they're just right. So you have people just kind of cut off at the knees or something, but walking by, and then now your brain is like, oh, that thing's huge, right, or something like that. Or like Joshua said, maybe use a brick texture in there to make it appear like it is actually brick, and then put those people in there. That'd have been cool. But this is not our piece, so.
Well, but that's how. But see, this is what's really important, because if you're going to create art that you want others to see, there's some hope or in ideal that they're going to get what you're saying. And so it helps to kind of understand how people might see that, and maybe that can help you with your message.
Yeah. And well, that's what these critiques are all about. Just different perspectives on your work.
Yep.
Very cool.
Because I create for other people. A lot of my stuff I create for me, but I make a living creating work for other people. So I have to try to figure out how do I maintain being an artist and create what I envision, but at the same time, my brides have to like it.
Yeah.
So you gotta hone in on that.
That's the professional you, though. But I would argue, you do art in the real world beyond pixels as well, right? And
right. Oh, I do. Yeah.
99% of that stuff I would guess is for you, right? And because you want to do it, the pottery, all that stuff, you're not doing that and expecting some kind of accolade for doing it. You like doing it.
I do it all just to get attention, Frederick. That's all I do it for.
I know. Well, that's the word on the street, but I don't want to say it.
Oh.
Very cool, Amy. Thank you for that.
Yeah. That was
all right. Eric is up next. What did Eric say about this? Eric said a lot about that. I'm not reading all this, Eric. Eric says, ghost in downtown Austin. I heard there was a ghost convention last week in Austin. Ghosts are immune to COVID. So I took my IR 720 A7 II and photographed them along our hike. He says it was 30 images with a 10-stop neutral density filter. Okay, let's take a look.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah, you need that.
Yeah, that's cool. That is scary. You know, it's so funny. Nicole and I were having a conversation the other day about just the fact that there, are a couple more people that have died on Earth than are alive right now. So we were talking about the idea that every place that you could possibly have gone on the planet that is solid ground, someone probably passed away there, right? So there are ghosts everywhere on the planet if you believe in that sort of thing. So, it was interesting. And then I saw this shot. I was like, yes, that's what I was talking about. They're everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the creative nature of this. And this works exceptionally well with infrared because of the way that it exposes for the people that are probably being hit by the sunlight and, the dark sky. So I also really love the layers of tone. So we've got, if we start in the lower right-hand corner, we've got light, a little bit darker, and then dark. Left corner, we've got dark, light, a little bit darker, and then dark. And I love layers like that. So, and we have this path that leads us right in and leads us right out of the image. So it's a very, very strong image.
Yeah. I like it. It brings you in. It definitely brings you in. I thought you were going to say something about this area over here. You don't have a problem with that area down there in the lower left?
And I think that it needs that because I actually, it's funny you said that. I tried cropping it off earlier, just holding my hand up. It needs that to kind of close off that corner so that we can stay within the path. If it was a brighter tone or a distracting pattern, then I would have more of an issue with it. But it's not. It's dark. It kind of stays out of the way, and it just helps guide your mind into that lit path, which has all the people on it, which I think is just so great.
Yeah, this is really.
And
fun.
And I also really appreciate the fact that the verticals are vertical. So great.
And I'm sure you brought this into Photoshop and you pulled out a guide to double check, right?
No, I don't need to. I can see. I can look at it and be like, oh, that's good. That side's good. Center looks good. Yes.
Have you ever, Troy? Have you ever played with, or anyone in the room? Have you ever played with using the median command on a smart object in Photoshop to basically take a set of images like this, maybe more, and remove the people completely? Using the median command on a smart filter or on a smart object, you can basically have it remove all the deltas or anything that has changed from frame to frame. Photoshop will eject it and leave you with the underlying pixels. And I call it the neutron bomb technique, where you can remove all the humans and leave the structures intact, so you can have a Golden Gate Bridge with no cars on it, or Machu Picchu with no tourists or something like that. Have you ever played with that?
I have, yeah. It's an amazing technique, and it'd be really fun to see Eric run that on this image instead of combining them this way. Use the median option and remove all the people. That's also how we do star trails, right? Because it leaves the star trail and just adds the difference or removes the difference. Yeah. It's a very, very cool technique.
Yeah, it is. I actually learned that technique when who taught me that? I think it was Russell Brown or somebody when I was at Adobe taught me that, because he's the Photoshop. wizard, you know, and he showed me that thing, and my brain was just exploded because I was like, oh, so you could do this and then use that as a base and then put, you know, whatever you want in there and put a port, you know. Yeah, it's crazy. It's a lot of power to be able to do that. Yeah. Hey, Eric. Yeah. Eric says he has done it before. Cool. Yeah, it's good for noise removal. Yep. Yeah, Amy, it is in the. I'll send a link to a tutorial on that. It shows you how to. It's really easy. Once you do it, you're like, holy crap, how did I not know about this? So yeah, I'll send
and there's like what is it, 5 different blending modes when you do that, and they all have a different way of blending the tones and things that move. And I learned how to do it through doing star trails with cool. Ken Sploot. We were out shooting star trails, and most people like, oh, I'm gonna go shoot a 2-hour star trail. Like, no, you do 4-minute four-minute star trails, and then you stack them so you don't lose your shot after 2 hours. Yeah.
It's interesting when Adobe introduced that feature. It's called Median, if you want to go look for it. When they introduced that feature, I believe it was specifically for the medical industry. So for bringing in X-rays and to help physicians in comparing one X-ray to another and removing changes so they could see underlying stuff. So yeah, it's but now of course pixels is pixels, right? So we can do whatever the heck we want to do with it.
Yeah.
Cool shot, Eric, though. Thank you for submitting this. Very cool.
Makes me want to go take my camera out.
Me too. I got a new toy for Valentine's Day, by the way.
Ooh.
I got a Godox V1 strobe.
Oh, nice.
Have you seen those? The round head strobe?
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah.
I got to go out and take that baby out.
So,
nice. Which is better, huh? That's a tough one. Ernest is up next. He says digital art can be computer generated. So with that, I started with a blank canvas in Photoshop and made this digital art out of my head. No camera needed. Sometimes it's, let's see, what else did he say? Sometimes the visions I see are only there in my head, so I use Photoshop to create them. Amen, brother.
Nice.
Hope you enjoy this created digital art playtime. All the best. Yeah, I hear you. Let's bring that up. Look at that.
Yeah,
I know what you're going to say. I'm going to let you say it. Go ahead.
No, because then you can just easily say, oh, yes, I was going to say that.
You're going to say something about this floor, the grid pattern not being horizontal, and it's messing with your OCD right there, right? Tell me I'm wrong.
Nope, that's true. That's true.
I know you, man. There. I know you.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think, well, maybe that's intentional, and it causes this sense of imbalance, which I agree with, right? Like, because not everything is perfect and square, and the idea that it's tilted a little bit makes me feel uneasy as I walk towards this portal that's going to take me someplace, right? Because that's what I see. I see this portal. And I love the colors, and I love, the nuances in the tones. I think that's really wonderful.
Yeah.
In the black and white foreground, floor, we'll call it, or bridge or whatever, and then the color that's in the distance, I do enjoy that. Yeah, I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I dig it too. This is really cool. I think Joshua should consider bringing one of his people into the scene.
Oh yeah.
That would be killer. With a this is like an alien living room or something.
Yeah, some collab. I do love this. I think this is really cool. I don't think that we need the border with the drop shadow and the white. Leave the gray border if you like, but just take your art on the inside right to the edge. I don't know why we need that white. It doesn't feel like it's part of the image because the drop shadow. Maybe,
would it have been better just with black around there, or just nothing?
Maybe fill it with stars or something. Give it a sense of displacement, or I don't know.
Full of stars.
Yeah. obviously Ernest had a vision, and so that may have been very intentional that way. But yeah,
This is actually really refreshing when you look at it, because we're so used to just straight photographic, just f-stop, shutter speed,
right.
the rule of thirds, all that stuff applied to our photos, and just to sit there with a blank canvas and just like go to town, it's got to be relaxing and liberating. So bravo, man. Very cool.
Yeah,
Like early days Photoshop. Remember when we first got Photoshop and you're like, what can I do with this? What if I did this? Alien skin.
Remember Alien Skin? Yeah. Just render weird textures all day. Yeah.
That's right. KPT, Bryce, Kai's Power Tools, all that.
That's it. That was the other one. Yes.
I was there, man. I grew up with that stuff. I got to visit Meta Creations in Santa Barbara once, which was crazy.
Oh.
You know who I was visiting at Meta Creations? Joseph Lenashke. He used to work there. And I went
kidding.
to visit him down there. Yep, for sure.
That's amazing.
All right. Yeah, many moons ago. Thank you, Ernest, for that.
I think that's the...
Ooh, look at this. Next shot is Michael DeRay. He says interdimensional parasailing through the multiverse. Dude, you're hitting some nerdalicious chords there, man. That is just, he is not playing around with that nerd quotient. That's awesome.
No. That is so great. I just love that. Yeah, the little pieces of the parachute.
It's crazy. I love it. Yep. All right, go to town. What do you think?
I just love everything about it. I think as far as like digital art goes, this is very appealing. The only thing that's distracting to me is that I know that this is one of those parasails. They're being towed as opposed to falling, because I can see the little triangle, where they're being pulled from. And I kind of wish that wasn't there, because then it would give me a sense that they're falling as opposed to being pulled through. But aside from that, everything else about it, I think, is just really wonderful. The circular sort of wormhole and how it's all been stretched and melted in the back. And yeah, I dig it. Very, very creative.
Yeah, this is cool. I like the thing about these kind of images is the thing that I gravitate towards is the simplicity of them. Like kind of like Craig Colvin's images, or that image that his Abyss image. It's very simple, just a few elements in there, and it's very intentional. You know what he was trying to do with this, and it's you don't have to really guess about it. It's very this has a like a sprinkle of Salvador Dali in it or something, right? Yeah, it kind of feels like the melted clock kind of thing.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, very, very Escher-esque even. Yeah, it's cool.
Fun. Very cool. What a good topic. Good topic selection, Troy Miller. Good.
Wasn't so sure at the last critique.
All right. Oh, what is this? TWiP Pro way cooler than the cool. Nice. Hey, it's Michael DeRay. We're talking about some T-shirt action, so stay tuned there. Karen Sweeney. Oh, this is music. Okay, so that was the end.
Yeah.
That was the end. So let's pop out, go back to the main network and see if there's any in the critique group, y'all. Right. Just so we don't miss anyone.
There is a couple in there, isn't there? There's several in there.
Craig's. Craig Stampley.
Yeah, even I put mine in there.
Look at that.
Oh, we have to learn. We move slow.
I know. That's why I let them both stay up for a minute, and then I'll turn one off.
Right.
All right. What do you think of this one, Craig Stampley? This is psychedelic. After going home after the club, that's what this feels like.
I think it's great. This is one of those kind of things where, you have all these tools and you have this palette of colors, and you have all these different brushes, and you can just throw paint at however you like, and you could just manipulate things. And there's no reason to stop at a simple capture and color correction and crop. Right. And so I think this is great. I think it's fun. It blends in with the colors from the car, the underlighting, the carriage lighting and stuff. It gives a sense of excitement and you're right. Post club trip or on the way to the club or
exactly pumping the music. You're like, hey, that's what this feels like.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I like it. And that goes to like, I hope we get to a point where we can stop thinking in one dimension creatively. And what I mean by that is we think in one-dimensional pixel images, and it's the image. As photographers, it's an image. Hey, I created this image only. I think in the future, I would love to see more multimedia type images. Like with this one, maybe he has a soundtrack that goes with it, or some narration, or a story, or some, something, to kind of bring it home. Because you could totally do that. Most images are viewed on a computer, which means you have access to, play music with them or do whatever the heck you want with them. So we don't have to restrict ourselves to 2 dimensions.
You know what we need? I'm picturing a pack gallery showing where you walk up to the image and there's a little pedestal there or something comes off the wall with a little display, right? And you touch it and it plays your music for you.
Yeah. Well, there's an easier way. I'm actually working on a tutorial for FMC, the NAB people, that basically the tutorial shows how to use a couple of pieces of software to take your phone or tablet or whatever and say aim it at a printed work on the wall, say one of your brides on the wall, and when you've captured the image, you captured a couple of minutes of video, right, of them kind of moving and being crazy as a bride and groom or whatever, and you put it in slow motion. When you look at it through the device in augmented VR, it maps the video into the frame on the wall and plays the audio. So it's kind of like that Harry Potter effect where the pictures come alive on the wall.
Right.
That I think it's really, really cool because it uses optical image recognition or whatever to look at the image and then match it up digitally to the video file and then pull that and superimpose the video in the frame real time. So as you move around, it just looks like the thing is moving in 3D space. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So I'll share that when the tutorial's done.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, that'll be a nice ad for F64 or Pack Gallery when we're there. Yeah, we can do that.
No, that'd be killer. I think that hopefully that where things start going in that direction. And I don't think things need to the entire train of photography needs to go in that direction. I think it's an offshoot of, hey, if it merits and the story calls for it and the imagery would be, or the story would be better served by multiple pieces of media versus just a still photo, why not?
Agreed. Yeah, I look forward to that. Yep.
Cool. Craig Stampley. Good job, man. Thank you. And Steve Van Sickle's up. Steve says, digital art. Can anyone tell me if this lime is safe to eat or will the rum burn off the demonic possession? What started as a different failed attempt at UV-IVF was ultraviolet. I'm trying to get this acronym. What is this? Ultraviolet in vitro fertilization. Okay, turned into me delaying my cocktail to play with macro, full color, and all sorts of fun. All right, let's take a look. Here's his in vitro fertilization shot.
Nice. You know what? Immediately I saw this and I thought of pop art. The pop art topic immediately. Because of those colors and just the common item that it is or the subject matter that we know what it is. It's really super cool. I'm not sure that we need the reflection. I'm not sure about that. I think that it's either like I want the whole reflection in there to be the whole image top and bottom and they get equal weight in the display, or crop it off just above the blue on the bottom. So we know that there's a reflection, like it's sitting on a reflective surface, but then the upper subject is kind of standing out. But this is really fun. This is really great. I love this. I love the colors, the different colors for a subject matter that we kind of recognize. So.
Yep. Again, this is food for one of Joshua Sommerfeld's people, right?
Yeah. That's how they get the green skin. It's like the flamingos. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Love it. Very cool. Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Van Sickle.
Yeah, do a series. He needs a series of those.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. IVF.
Peter is up next. Shot with his Sony A7R III on the beach in the Philippines, low tide. I really want to get to the Philippines at some point. Look at this. So this is the first one we've seen that has kind of that impressionistic kind of look to it. Or painterly. Pointillist? Would this be pointillist? I'm not sure.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Maybe.
What do you think?
It's a very classic watercolor style, which I think is a lot of fun. The colors, you know, that the cool tone in the foreground with the offset warm in the background. I think that's really, really good color harmony. You know, because it creates depth using that color. The nice reflection is warm. So yeah, it's a really, really great subject matter for that. I think it's really, really cool.
Yeah. And Amy Brooks in the chat says this is more like Monet than pointillism. Okay.
Right. So. True. My only critique would be is that just to the right of the lifeguard stand, you know, you've got that one cloud maybe that's creating that sort of harsh. Yeah.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, that's it. Get rid of that sucker.
Yeah. 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 If your eye goes to it and you're like, oh, that should be there, you know? Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's got a shadow down here too. See that? Yeah. Or reflection.
Well, you know, think about this from a painter's perspective, right? Like a painter is not going to paint that in there.
True.
So should it stay? Like, does it add to the image? And if it doesn't, then take it out, especially in digital artistry. Get that out of there.
Talk to me about the border. We've got an uneven border. We've got uneven and a line or a key line around the image and a thick black border. What do you think?
I like it. I think it's a nice presentation. It's clean. It helps set the image off. I like it.
I think if it's got like these kind of images that have an uneven or have a chin on them like this one, it feels like down here, maybe it like, I feel like some text that says Philippines low tide or something. You know, in a serif, the sans serif font or something. I don't know.
There was actually a study done, and I don't know if I can find it, but where it's the sense of space and support for the image. So if the bottom is the same as the top, it doesn't feel like it's as supported. So the goal is that you lift it slightly. This may be more than it needs, but you lift it slightly, like 20 or 30%, so that it creates a base, so the image feels like it's sitting on something. But that's the purpose of that. So, but yeah,
it's a cool shot. Definitely pulls you into it.
Yep. Definitely, you know, printed big, and after you fix that cloud thing.
Very cool. Thank you, Peter. And I think, oh yeah, okay. He says, well, this is you.
Yeah.
So like he says, so tell us about this. I don't have to read it. Tell us what's going on here.
Yeah, this was just, we were on our way to WPPI, and there's this little desert spot we like to pull over and photograph. And there was this dune, and the wind was blowing. And I was experimenting with making, you know, giant cloths, thinking like how I could use this for my brides, and making a veil look like it's like 50 feet long, and without actually having a 50-foot long veil. So really, you know, as the material is blowing, I'm taking several photos. So then I went back and I just pulled the photos out of the material, which you see across the bottom, and I added them in to kind of make that much bigger. That was really my goal. Yeah.
This reminds me of, you remember that movie? I think it was made in the 80s. Jennifer Lopez starred in it. Vincent D'Onofrio as the villain in it. The premise was like they were going into it. Yeah, thank you, Joshua. The Cell. This reminds me of The Cell. This is like a scene from The Cell when she's in the dream world.
I just got to point out that there's a delay between when you start talking and they can hear you, and Joshua came up with that answer before you finished saying it, which means like it was literally the first couple syllables he knew.
He's in my head. Joshua's in my head. Get out of my head, man. You're gonna get lost in there.
Yeah.
No, this is cool. I like this. What a good yeah, because you would never know. This is one of those images where it's like, wow, he got that shot, right? And I don't know that this was a composite. unless you would have told me it was a composite. So
yeah, and that was the fun. I actually did a couple shoots with clients where we took them out and we brought a piece of material, and it was all beforehand. It was like, hey, let's do something a little bit more fun, and so it'd be like her standing up on this rock with this material. Well, I'm not going to carry around a 50-foot by 50-foot giant piece of material, and it's impossible to manage. So I had a small piece, and I just built it, made it look bigger. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Good job. You have control over the pixels. You are in control over all that you see and hear.
Yes.
Do not attempt to adjust your Photoshop. All right. Who else is in here? Oh, that's it. All right.
We're done.
So what do you think? What are your thoughts? What's your favorite? I have my favorite.
My favorite is Ascension. That's my favorite.
Is that the Abyss shot?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The Abyss shot. You like Ascension. I like this shot.
I retitled it. Yeah, I retitled it. But
nice. No, this is my favorite for a variety of reasons. I love it. Even as you pointed out, Craig Colvin, with your not horizontal horizon line up there. That's okay. She's underwater. That water is moving. You don't know. I want to know, is that water real or is that generated? That looks awfully fractal, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Or is it real?
I don't think
I don't know. You think it's real or you don't think it's real?
No, I don't think
it's not real. Kurt Colvin, let us know. Is that water real up there? Is the whole thing? Is the only thing in this image that's real the person? I'm curious.
And you could have Joshua generate that, and we wouldn't be able to tell.
Totally, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, good. We agree on the favorite this time. Finally, yes. Craig says yes. The person is the only real person. Yeah, it's the only real thing in the shot. Okay. Yeah. True composite. Very cool. All right. Well, awesome. So what's our critique topic for next week?
It's open. It's an
open. Uh-oh. Here we go.
Everybody
right,
gets
folks, you got
rewarded for going through all that.
Yeah. So open next week, and I'll post that event a little bit later today, so it's in there.
Yeah.
Put it on your calendar. Cool. All right, so open for next week. I'm going to go ahead and end the recording for this critique. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We're going to continue to chat for a couple minutes, and then we'll end it. I'm going to turn everyone's camera and microphones on, so our critique turns into just a regular hangout. This is TWiP.